Hey folks, Wally DM here, and today we're going to take a look at a trap that poses a little bit of a moral dilemma. The characters are going to find this ordinary looking house cat that's trapped behind a wall of force. The only way to be able to get this house cat out is they're going to have to sign a contract releasing the cat to their care. They're going to have to take responsibility through a signed document. Now before we get started, I do want to warn you that this trap is going to play on the proverb of a cat having 9 lives. And in fact, part of the effect of this trap as it takes place and it plays out is for the cat to die, but it's going to come right back to life as if nothing happened, and even when those 9 lives are expended, it is part fiend or devil, so it's going to return to a place from which it came, and it will be back with no problem. This cat is nearly invincible. If you would like to download the written version of this trap, it is now available to all patron members of the channel at the $2 level or higher over on Patreon. And if you'd like to support the channel in other ways, be sure to hit that subscribe button and pick up a copy of my book, Wally DM's Journal of Puzzle Encounters, available now on DriveThruRPG. Now let's get started and check out this trap, the Calico Cat Contract, or the 9 Lives of Hell. So this is a trap that you could run in some type of a residence, maybe a mansion, a business, a guild, a wizard's tower, a laboratory, something along those lines. I've set up some type of a wizard's den and our adventuring party is investigating it. Now I have all kinds of different things laid out here with books and bookcases and desks and candles and potions and things of that nature, but the only thing that we are really concerned about is going to be this area over here to the left with a cat that is trapped inside a magical wall of force. Now it'll be up to you to decide if there's anything else in value of this room, but I'm just going to focus on this trap. Now as our party comes in, they're eventually going to make their way over here, and what they're going to see is they're going to see this normal looking house cat, and I'm going to have mine be a Calico colored, which is a multicolored house cat, and it seems to be trapped inside some type of transparent magical wall of force in the shape of a box. Now this does have an anti-magic aura about it, so no spells or abilities are going to be able to penetrate that, although they will be able to see the facial reactions of the cat with no problem whatsoever. Now if they were to come over and investigate, they're going to see a few different things. First thing they're going to see is they're going to see this Calico cat that's inside this wall of force, and he's surrounded by good berries. Apparently he's been surviving on them, but as he looks about, he looks kind of sad and lonely, maybe a little bit depressed, but if anyone were to approach the cat, then he'll perk up and have a hopeful look about him. Now outside of this cage or wall of force that the cat is trapped behind are going to be 3 important items for the trap. The first is going to be a collar that has the cat's name on it. The cat's name is Floyd, or whatever you want to call the cat. In addition to the cat's name being on the collar, there's also a small orb that contains ink. And when you know it, there's also a quill that is on this pedestal that could be used with the ink to write on a contract that is on top of the pedestal. Now if the characters grab the collar or start to look at this contract, this cat's going to be very excited and is going to be hoping for a rescue. Now the contract is very important, so let's take a look and see what it says. If Floyd is here in his protective cage, then I am either dead or in trouble. Regardless, I have no one left to look after my dearest pet. Should you decide to take responsibility and care for Floyd as your friend and pet in my absence, simply sign the contract using the ink attached to his collar, and Floyd will be released into your care. Should you be able to return Floyd to me, the contract will be voided and your responsibility as caretaker will come to an end. Also, Floyd really enjoys peanut butter. Xerxes. And then underneath the personal letter is the contract. I hereby pledge to adopt Floyd the cat and take full responsibility for his care and well-being. I promise to provide him with shelter, food, love, attention, and protection, forming a solid bond between owner and pet. Signed, and then there's a blank for a signature. Now, of course, we already know what's coming. The trigger of the trap is going to be signing the contract. But this trap is trying to use the players and the characters' love for pets, and seeing this cat that is trapped behind a wall of force, hopefully they're going to want to help it. Now, if they try to sign the contract with the incorrect name, the writing will immediately vanish. If they try to dump out all of the ink, the orb will refill. If they try to destroy the contract or the quill, they'll magically reappear. So once one of our characters signs the contract, then the trap is going to be triggered. And the effect is going to be the bond with Floyd. Now this cat is actually not evil, and it will be a very good companion for our rogue. So our rogue now has a pet cat with him. However, the trap is going to be one that we play over a long term. And in fact, the next time that there's combat or any sign of danger, there's a chance that Floyd could be right in the middle of it and Floyd may die. Now if Floyd dies, that bond that is per the contract that was signed by our rogue is going to kick in, and our rogue's maximum hit points is going to be reduced by a D4, and that is going to be permanent for as long as that contract exists. Now Floyd is going to come back to life in 1d4 rounds because Floyd's going to have 9 lives. However, every time Floyd dies, our rogue is going to have his maximum hit points reduced by another D4. So once our rogue has figured out that his life force is tied to the cat's, and every time the cat dies he's going to lose or have his maximum hit points reduced, he's probably going to want to try to break the contract. Unfortunately for our rogue, the only way that he can break the contract is if he dies with a wish spell, with a blessing from a deity or a god, or to return the cat to his owner. So that's going to include a trip to the 9 hells. Now each time Floyd dies, there's going to be a tally mark or a hash mark that's going to appear on his collar. And once all of Floyd's 9 lives have been exhausted, then Floyd the cat and our rogue, who had signed the contract, are both going to be teleported to the layer of hell where the devil resides. Now once they are in the 9 hells, this fiend will determine whether or not to keep them as a prisoner, return them to the surface unharmed, or make a deal in exchange for their life. That is going to be up to you as a DM. I'm assuming that there's probably some type of a task the devil will do in order to break the contract for our rogue. Now of course, let's again discuss about traveling to the 9 hells. If the bonded character returns Floyd to its true owners before the 9th life is spent, then the contract is going to be null and void, and the rogue will be able to part ways, and he's going to regain his maximum hit point level. So let's talk a little bit about Floyd. Floyd is going to be curious and fearless, and he will follow his owner to the death, literally. He will be aggressive in combat and fight alongside the owner. Needless to say, as the game master, you should always be looking for creative ways to put Floyd in harm's ways. If you want to expedite the trap's consequences, consider that opposing creatures in combat may see that the cat is a major threat and try to take it out right away, resulting of course in an easy death. Now there are some countermeasures that can be taken to try to avoid the trap. A successful DC 16 perception check reveals the faint smell of sulfur, but only if a character gets really close to the cage that is created of magical force. So if our rogue is right up here taking a closer look at the cat that is surrounded by this wall of force, then they may be able to smell that sulfur scent with a DC 16 perception check. Now the characters can also investigate the contract, and on a successful DC 16 investigation check, a character will be able to scrutinize the contract, taking a very close look at it, and they're going to notice that one letter is out of place in the alphabet. Now if they're able to read or write infernal, they're going to recognize this out of place letter as a letter from the infernal alphabet. And then finally, if the characters want to ask about the name Xarxius, the one that signed the letter, then they will need to make a successful DC 16 history check, and they'll be able to determine that Xarxius is a very common name for tieflings or for devils. Now another thing that can happen is if we have a paladin, perhaps they use their divine sense to detect fiends, celestials, or undead, and the spell will actually detect our cat as a fiend. Now he's not really good or evil, but he is a type of devil or a cat that may have some devil type blood within him. Now of course the best way to avoid this entire trap is to just leave Floyd in the cage and go about our ways. But of course don't worry, Floyd is patient, he's content, and the fiend that put him there will ensure that no harm or mistreatment comes to him. If the adventurers decide to leave him there, he's gonna be just fine. So that's all I have for you today. What did you think of this trap? Is this something that you could use in your game? And if so, what would you do differently? Be sure to leave a comment below and let's get a discussion going. Thank you very much for watching, and on to the next.